On the heels of a bruising week of headlines, President Trump was ready to regain his footing at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference this weekend, CPAC. He ended up delivering the longest speech of his presidency in front of a fired-up crowd of supporters. We saw vintage Trump, and he pulled no punches.
Unfortunately, you put the wrong people in a couple of positions, and they leave people for a long time that shouldn't be there, and all of a sudden, they're trying to take you out with bull, okay? With bull. Robert Mueller never received a vote, and neither did the person that appointed him. And as you know, the Attorney General says, I'm going to recuse myself. I'm going to recuse. And I said, why the hell didn't he tell me that before I put him in? If you tell a joke, if you're sarcastic, if you're having fun with the audience, if you're in live television with millions of people and 25,000 people in an arena, and if you say something like, Russia, please, if you can, get us Hillary Clinton's emails. Please, Russia, please. Please get us the emails, please.
Let's discuss with former GOP Congressional Communications Director Tara Setmayer and Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell. Tara, you heard the reaction there to the president at CPAC. He was, of course, one of many speakers. So let me point out a few other things. At least two others brought up the ghost of John McCain in their speeches. The CPAC chair, Matt Schlapp, he proclaimed the president doesn't lie, that he's not a dishonest political leader. The next most popular name, by the way, after Trump that came up was Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So I'm wondering, what did this year's CPAC tell you about where the Republican Party is right now?
It just reconfirmed the fact that the Republican Party has completely bent its knee in a corrosive way to Donald Trump's ilk. And as someone who's been to probably, I don't know, over a dozen CPACs over my political career, and it was something I used to look forward to as a conservative because it was never a circus like this until the era of Donald Trump. It's really sunken into a place of embarrassment. Watching Republicans clap like seals to that lunacy of a speech yesterday by the President of the United States is just disheartening in a lot of ways that this is where the party is going. You know, the fact that, but it was also very indicative of where President Trump is going and how he plans to run in 2020. It was very revealing. So for those who are going to run against Donald Trump, study that and see and look at it, because what he did inside of all of those one-liners and just, you know, trying to normalize a lot of the fact that he's gone against so many norms and institutions and constitutional ideals and decency. He also injected some pieces of the I will protect you and I'm the only one. And that's what got him elected in the first place, fear-mongering. And Ocasio-Cortez represents this new progressive target that he's going to use to fear-monger. So where he may be right about some of those things on that side, it's so muddied with all these other horrible things that, no, we don't need him to protect us. We need someone else that actually respects the Constitution and the office of the presidency.
And I want to get to you about that piece in just a second, but let me come to Catherine here with something else the president said yesterday as he was feeding his base, painting the left as a party of socialism. Watch.
Right now, we have people in Congress that hate our country. And you know that. And we can name every one of them if they want. They hate our country. Democrat lawmakers are now embracing socialism. They want to replace individual rights with total government domination. This is the new Democrat platform for the and I don't want to talk them out of it. I swear, I don't. This is a killer. I got to get off this subject. I want them to embrace this plan. I want them to go and sell this plan. I just want to be the Republican that runs against them.
Catherine, do you think Democratic candidates are getting pulled too far to the left?
I think that is a risk in this primary, particularly since there is a large portion of the country, particularly older voters, who when they hear socialism, they run for the hills, right? Socialism to them means the Soviet Union. It means all sorts of scary, repressive communist tactics. Younger voters, socialism means something completely different, right? When they think of socialism, they think of Sweden. They think of socialized medicine. They think of Medicare, Social Security, lots of other things. I mean, socialism is one of these words that's kind of an empty term. It can mean whatever you want it to mean. And I think there is a risk within the Democratic primary that as candidates gain steam, who have embraced that brand, that could hurt them in the general. And you see candidates already, even if they're not sort of embracing the brand of socialism, they are sort of trying to appeal to the very energized left-wing base of the party, and how they're going to reconcile that with an appeal in the general election, assuming that strategy is successful, will be quite difficult. So that's why I think you see a lot of candidates both trying to run in the progressive and moderate lanes, right? They're claiming the Medicare for All brand, which again is another one of these terms that means different things depending on who you are, but they're also trying to brand themselves as pragmatists, as moderates as well. So
and when you look at the latest polling, socialism is not a popular word, is not a popular idea, even among Democrats. But Tara, there's all this middle ground. I know you find yourself in that space. In a recent op-ed in the New York Times, questions of the vitality of the Never Trump movement. I want to read you something from Liz Mayer. She writes, but in most politically meaningful ways, the Never Trump movement has disintegrated. It's now the political equivalent of a doomed exotic species, attracting a lot of stares from bystanders, but no longer playing much of a role in the actual biosphere. Do you agree? I know you're part of the Never Trump movement. Is she right?
Right. With all due respect, I would say no. We're not facing extinction species. I think what we are, we're the conscience of the Republican Party. We're the conscience of a large part of this country who has to look at themselves in the mirror and justify and rationalize the fact that they've supported someone who they never would have supported in any other way if they were a Democrat or any other Republican. They've completely sold out their principles, and they're trying to figure out ways to continue to justify that. We are the conscience telling you, no, none of this is okay. And when this is over with, we need to rebuild so many aspects of our political system. But somebody has to do it. So, no, I mean, people have been trying to write off the Never Trump movement, or those of us who are Trump skeptical, as Jonah Goldberg likes to say, for a long time, but yet we're still here.
I know, but when you look at influence, I think what I'm talking about is the influence, because you have people in power, in positions of power on Capitol Hill, that have not been successful in standing up to this president. Yeah, you have some people who don't always vote with him all the time, Justin Amash, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, but a lot of the quote-unquote Never Trumpers didn't even run for re-election because they didn't think it was possible to get re-elected in the current environment. Or you have people like Mike Kaufman who got unseated in Colorado. So I think that's sort of what I understood, or my interpretation of what Liz Mayer said. Let me really quick come to Catherine. I want to get Catherine back because I'm running short on time, Tara. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, the bottom line here is, say what you will about, you know, the criticism that this president has faced. His poll numbers, Catherine, are actually going up. If you look at least this latest poll from NBC News and the Wall Street Journal, look there, 46% approval. Is that a warning sign for Democrats? And I mean, he has some momentum here, even though the majority still don't like his emergency declaration.
Look, he doesn't. I mean, the truth is that if you look at the rolling poll numbers that he's had since he took office, he has been underwater since day one. There is not a single point in time during this presidency when he has been viewed as more favorable than unfavorable by the general public. And beyond that, I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is that what's bizarre about the fact that his poll numbers, well, so you could say it's strange that his poll numbers haven't fallen, or maybe some polls, I guess, suggest that they might be rising a little bit, maybe within the margin of error, given all of the scandals. That seems odd. It's also a little bizarre when you look at how low his favorables are compared to the economy. Normally, in an economy this strong, you would expect a president to be viewed much more favorably, to be much more popular. And that suggests to me that it is probably only the economy that's keeping him afloat at this point, to do least as well as he is. And if you look at predictions from economists about where the economy is heading, you see that this is now one of the longest expansions on record.
Right.
Business cycles turn at some point. I'm not saying it will be Trump's fault, but at some point, if the business cycle turns, that could really change the game for him.
Catherine Rampell, Tara Setmayer, thank you, ladies. Good to see you.